Today, we're going to discuss the Nolan Wells investigation and give any updates that I know about at this point about what happened to Nolan Wells. Now, let's talk about the parents' interview. Now, during their emotional interview with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America, Nolan Wells' parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, along with their attorney, Ben Crump, shared several critical and deeply personal details about the case. Now, as you know, Nolan Wells did not return back from Horn Island, but his phone did. Christine Wansley, who is his mother, elaborated on why the family is very convinced that information was intentionally wiped from Nolan's phone. The family actively tracked Nolan's location during the 4th of July weekend using the Life 360 app, which is a tracking device that they have on Nolan's phone. When Christine received the phone from Nolan's friend, she noticed something was wrong. She stated that because Nolan posted constantly, she immediately noticed that there were 0 saved videos or active messages from the day, particularly pointing back to his Snapchat accounts, which he had 2 of. Ben Crump emphasized to Strahan how unrealistic the friend's story is. State bluntly, no young person leaves their cell phone behind voluntarily, especially on a boat, while remaining on a packed island. The parents are not believing the narrative that the sheriff's office is trying to paint. They said that Nolan's father, Elmore Wansley, firmly rejected the claim that Nolan chose to stay behind alone. Elmore stated, "If you go to the island with 5, you come back from the island with 5. He knew to stay with the group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know." Now, when Strahan asked the silly question, talking about, do you know why your son would want to stay 10 miles back on the island? And then the father said, no, I don't think that I could think of a reason that he would. It's like, Strahan, do you think that boy going to want to stay back on the island 10 miles away from home, offshore, without a boat and his cell phone? Come on now, that don't make sense. Now, at another press conference, the Wells family, the attorney, and Al Sharpton formally escalated the case. At another press conference, the Wells family, the attorney, Ben Crump, all stood up and said that they publicly reject law enforcement's preliminary leaning towards accidental drowning and demands an immediate federal level investigation. Now, Ben Crump has some breaking evidence. He said that he provided a breakthrough description of a viral social media video revealing that it explicitly documents an intimate dispute between Nolan and his so-called friends that he traveled to the island with. Now, according to Crump, Nolan can be seen and heard in a frantic plea on the video demanding, "Give me back my effing phone. What are you doing? Give me back my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" Now, this footage provides a direct digital link providing an ongoing high-stake altercation occurred over his communication devices right before he was left on the island. Now, another thing that happened was that the father exposed a lie about Nolan's keys that goes to his truck. Now, Nolan's father spoke publicly for the first time about his immediate interaction with the 3 white companions when they returned to the mainland without Nolan. Now, so you know, the keys for Nolan's truck was in the possession of a friend that he stayed with the night before. Now, this led up to a very tense confrontation when the father went to retrieve the keys. Now, here's what happened. Nolan had stayed at a friend's house on the night of July the 3rd and left his vehicle parked at that residence before boarding the boat to Horn Island on July the 4th. Now, the exact timeline of how his father, Elmore, obtained the key. When Elmore arrived at the home to confront the teen and to ask for Nolan's truck keys, the friend who lived at the house explicitly claimed he did not know where the keys were and he couldn't find them. Very frustrated, Elmore stepped outside on the porch. While outside, he could overhear a different boy at the house talking on the phone with a girl who had been hanging out with the group earlier that day. Now, the girl on the phone remembered the exact location of the keys, stating that she had seen them sitting on top of an Xbox console inside the house. Now, after hearing this, one of the other boys went back inside, retrieved the keys, and handed them over to Elmore. Now, Elmore noted that the friend who originally denied having the keys remained locked inside his bedroom until the law enforcement finally arrived at the property. Now, this immediate friction over Nolan's personal belongings, paired with his cell phone also being kept by the group, is a primary reason why attorney Ben Crump and the Wells family are formally challenging the narrative provided by the companions. Now let's discuss what happened the night that the parents received a call that Nolan was missing. Now, let me remind you that this particular story has changed over several times from when the first time they came home from the island to now. They have changed the story several times. Now, the Coast Guard confirmed that they received a call from one of Nolan's friends at 11 p.m. on the night of July the 4th. Shockingly, the Coast Guard stated that the call did not require Coast Guard assistance and did not trigger a search. Local sheriff departments were not requested to help with the Coast Guard request until roughly around noon the next following day. Now, Christina, who is Nolan's mother, stated that around 11:07 p.m. the same night, she received a call from Warren Cole, one of the friends on the boat. She immediately began asking what happened to Nolan. Warren told her that he hadn't heard from Nolan and that he was wondering if she had heard from Nolan, because he said the last time he talked to Nolan was when he told him that he was going to stay back with Katie. Well, Katie said that Nolan got on the boat with Warren, but Warren said that Nolan got on the boat with Katie. So there's some discrepancy in that story already. But then Nolan said, well, not only is Nolan missing, but Katie is missing as well. Now, because Horn Island is a barrier island located roughly around 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, it is completely inaccessible by car and can only be reached by a boat. Now, after receiving the alarming 11 p.m. call on the night of July the 4th and discovering Nolan's truck was at the mainland boat launch, Elmore desperately wanted to go over to the island that night. However, Elmore did not own a boat and he did not know anyone who had a boat, so he had to wait to go on the next following day. Around 5 a.m. on Sunday, July the 5th, one of Nolan's football coaches heard that the team was missing. The coach immediately called Elmore and offered to use his personal boat to take him out to the island. The coach arrived at the Ocean Springs dock around an hour later. He and Elmore navigated the boat 10 miles out to Horn Island, arriving just about 6 a.m. Now, once they arrived, they docked the boat, walked a long distance across the beach, and physically searched the northwest tip of the island where Nolan was last seen. But unfortunately, they was unable to find Nolan. What they did see was some people camping out that night. So there were some people that was camping out the night before, and they were still there the next morning. That was kind of odd, but I think some people usually do that on that island. What was odd is that he didn't find Nolan, but the next day they was able to locate Nolan's body. That's odd as well. Stay tuned for more updates on the Nolan Wells investigation. Please make sure to check out this video about Nolan Wells. Okay, bye.